Hey everyone, my name is Samrat. I'm the co-chair of Baseline Protocol, and I welcome you all once again to the Baseline Show in India. We do this every Saturday for the Indian Baseline community, which is fast growing, and some big names have already joined in. Baseline Protocol is a secure, open source, and private way of synchronizing systems. It is being developed by the community for the community. Some big names have already joined it. Some big names co-founded it. It was started by Consensus, Microsoft, EY. Now there is SAP as official sponsor. There's Accenture. There's tons of players out there. You can visit our website baseline-protocol.org and find out more about the protocol. And that's the update I'm going to start with. The big week is here. Our website is finally out. So you check out our new look. Check out the new sections on the website. Go to baseline-protocol.org. I'm just going to post it here. And also follow us on Twitter. We are pretty active on social media. But yeah, this week is all about our website. It's looking beautiful, and I would like to officially thank Sonal for leading the charge, and of course Mark Hadley is here. He leads the go-to-market and outreach initiatives of Baseline Protocol. And Mark, of course, thanks a lot for all the contribution. I mean, of course, it's a team effort, but we needed anchors. We needed really big players like yourself to sort of anchor this initiative and take it to fruition. So thank you so much. I'm personally loving it. The outcome is amazing. So for those of you who are watching us now, and for those of you who may watch us in future, do visit the website. There is a special new section which is introduced called Get Baseline. Um, there are some logos coming up very, very soon, but what it will essentially do is it will give you a way of getting baseline. Where do you start? It'll give you a starting point. We're also coming out with a baseline, getting started pack that will also be published on the website itself. We are making it super easy to start off, and start baselining. Then your the outcome of your project is only limited by your own creativity. Mark, you have any words about the website?
Well, the website, I mean, it's the culmination of probably about 4 months of work that we had put together. We engaged the services of a designer out of the Netherlands who has just done a phenomenal job with the functionality, but also really setting it up so that we can actually make edits as needed without having to rely on a lot of professional help. And that really speaks to what it is that we want to do as far as to make it how easy it would take you to get baselined. Um, and one thing I think that we're encountering is some people come to say is, wait a minute, is that all that it's going to take? And we're like, yes, this is not a platform. It's not a product. It's not something that you have to displace part of your architecture. This is something that is using your existing service environment, and we're making it better. This has advantages on several ways. First of all, cost, but especially the cybersecurity community that we've engaged on there finds it attractive because no data ever leaves the system of record, and data at rest is so much easier to secure than data in motion. And so they really enjoy that as well. And it's one of those where it can be deceptively simple when you're expecting that it's going to take a 12 to 18 month, implementation cycle and all that. No, no. you know, and I can't think of any organization that wants to relive their ERP system implementation. I mean, that was just painful.
Yeah.
So, but if you have an ERP system, and I'm sure several of your counterparties do, this is a way that we can tie it all together, and you are not revealing anything that you don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Absolutely.
only thing ever stored on a blockchain is just the proof, showing the consistency between two or more state machines.
Yeah. And it
So,
can be super cheap with the choice of blockchain and the consensus mechanism. I love that, Mark. Thank you so much once again. And of course, on the website, one section which remains consistent is get connected, get involved. So get involved. All our links. We're all, Mark and me both are there on Slack. We are very active, mostly on LinkedIn. and Twitter, everywhere. So just connect with us, ask questions. Slack is the best place to post questions and get clarifications. I'm sure after today, Kunal will also join our community and learn more about baseline and contribute, to the community effort. So with that, I bring in Kunal Narula, who's our guest for today. Kunal is the lead for incubation of cognitive communication initiatives at HCL Technologies. Hi, Kunal. Thank you so much for coming in, taking time out for us. I would start with a disclaimer. I give that disclaimer for every guest which I get, that Kunal is not representing his company today. He is representing himself. So his opinions and thoughts that he presents, or examples that he presents today, is all based on his own thoughts and his own research. All right. So with that, I bring in Kunal. Kunal, please introduce yourself and tell us more about what you do, what you've done so far.
Thanks, Samrat. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been, the journey has been approximately 17, 18 years old now in this unified communication space. And it was not just primarily with unified communication. I worked in the IT sector with various, covering the length and breadth of infra technologies. Now finding way in, unified communication, wherein I lead the incubation team. Our motto in incubation team is to have proposition and products ready for the market in unified communication space, which are relevant to the market, which can disrupt the market, right, and which are required by our customers. Now, I would like to outline one of the points which you mentioned about your website, that there's an engage section, right? Engagement is something wherein technology is there for years. Until that technology is being absorbed and being used by people, it doesn't mean a lot. So that's where we come, like as an incubation initiative. We look at it, how far we can extend the technology within the organization. What is the user adoption statistics with respect to technology? And it is also about getting the mutual benefits between the technology and the solution providers, because there are so many solutions which are there in market, but when it comes to the solution getting the actual value in customer landscape, it is all about understanding the customer requirement and stitching the gap between what is required and what has been provided by the solution providers. So that's what we primarily do. I work with pool of passionate developers and engineers who want to think out of the box and create they actually develop things as a state of art, that developer is like an artist. It's just that the canvas is different, right? So
Love
that's what we believe in.
Love that notion. Developer is an artist. Absolutely. Artist of the 21st century.
Absolutely right. So that's what we believe in. And the way we look at the unified communication thing is as a gravity of users moving from corporate to their work from home, and now again return to office. So with this movement, there is a hybrid workplace which is come into play, and which is something which we believe going to exist for the next a decade or so. And there are a lot of things which are coming into the unified communication space. There are likes of metaverse, right? So there's something like putting things on cloud. So this is not a new thing which we are talking, but way back 20 years when we were talking on moving users to the cloud, the infra and the other things were not so ready. Now when things are getting ready, so cloud calling or cloud setup or SaaS models is a reality right now. Similarly, with metaverse, there's an infrastructure requirement of 5G, as and when you are getting bigger internet pipes and MPLS connectivity, and along with that you are getting the 5G setup, then it is becoming a reality. I would say for cloud setup, it is SD-WAN, wherein the monitoring of the smaller parameters to divert the traffic between one to the second link, that became the catalyst and the accelerator. Similarly, in metaverse space, getting the infra ready and getting the interfaces of Oculus and the holograms and the HoloLens of the world, that will become catalyst and accelerators to take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think you touched upon a very fantastic point, which is technology driving business and business driving technology. It's takes two to tango. So I think it's a good junction where we also tell our baseliners. So what we do, Kunal, generally on the show is we try and discuss about one industry and try and explore use cases for baseline. And you come from an industry which I couldn't even say in one sentence, so which is cognitive collaboration. So tell us a little more about what cognitive collaboration ensues, and what it entails, and what all goes on in your day-to-day life. What are clients looking for when they talk to you?
Absolutely. So as I touched on, the traditional ways of collaborating, that was more of on-premise setup, right? So people looking for transformation from on-premise to cloud. They look for unified clients which can deal with the all the modalities like chat, calling, meeting, and these days the most important thing which any decision maker or in fact influencer in the organization looks forward to, that is getting the business workflows integrated with the collaboration platform. And that has become a new norm because the people who used to just support the technology are converting themselves into a DevOps engineers, and getting the right business workflow and getting the meaningful outcome from that business workflow is one of the objectives that we are seeing with respect to any decision maker taking a call with respect with the idea of what should be their end state architecture for unified communication.
Very interesting. Very interesting. And help us understand a little. What is the size of companies which look for stuff like that? I mean, is there something which you take as a ballpark number in terms of employees or locations or industries? Which industries are more inclined towards unifying their communications, whereas others may just be saying, what is not broken, let's not fix that.
See, generally, any organization, be it, of course, there are custom solutions for different business verticals. But other than the ones who are into, the oil and gas and, the mining industries, specifically the underground, wherein, it is difficult to lay the wires, right? They want to continue with the traditional way of working inside the mine, and that is primarily because of the reason that they're using intrinsically safe handsets, so they want to continue using those rugged phones.
Hmm.
However, once they come to the surface, everybody wants to modernize, right? They want to modernize the way they're working because they've seen that it's not just about modernization, it's about improving the productivity of the users. So
Right.
the unified communication platform has not been looked at just a tool or a productivity tool. It has been looked at two aspects. One is to bring the experience transformation within the organization, and second is with respect to improving the efficiency and reducing the cost.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Right. And one of
So
the objectives of using baseline can be these two objectives. We're hitting two words here. So efficiency and low costs of synchronization. I think that is something which we harp upon, me and Mark, every episode. That baselining is not expensive. Baselining does not need you to rip off your existing systems, and your degree of adoption of the cloud is also something which is not a hurdle here, right? But yes, people have to be comfortable with concepts around cybersecurity, blockchain, zero knowledge proofs. I think zero knowledge proof is something which we have been, Mark. I love that. We talk on these shows, but the way we interact on social media is so synchronous. We've been talking about zero knowledge proofs a lot. Now, I think that is something which it's the time is ripe now for ZKP to become normal for organizations to adopt and start working on. I mean, software players who are not working on ZKP are really losing out. So yeah, watch out. Baseline is here. Join in and start contributing, start learning. All it takes is allocate some resources. So I'm again taking a segue, Kunal, but I'm just trying to get in as many contributors as possible. um, what baseline community comprises of is not just techies, but it also has business people. We need people to create business models and solutions around the technology which is getting created. So yeah, you may be from any background, you may be even from marketing. We now need a lot of efforts to also go into outreach programs. Mark is leading that effort. So we need people from all kinds of backgrounds to join in. Mark, you want to add something there?
Yeah, I mean, and not only just the go to market where we're just doing some fancy collateral that has nice splashy colors on it and stuff like that. What we're doing is we're trying to really put up a sales enablement initiative to where we can engage every different domain to say this is how it can be used practically in the real world, and this is the value that you can derive from it, and this is what it would take to actually put it together. And so it's a lot more complex, just because you start to look at is, who is, your target audience. And a lot of times it is going to be, if it's going to be a new technology implementation, you're going to have the technical domain. It's going to be from the CIO or the CTO, and they're within their reporting matrix, which is what we've been doing for the past, well, as long as I can remember. Everyone's trying to lead with the tech, and we're trying not to make that same, I guess, well-meaning but mistake, really, because we start putting a lot of technical concepts and jargon in there. It is a very easy way to lose the attention of the business domain, and the
Mm.
business domain is the side that really has the investment budgets that can drive an implementation like this. And so what we want to do is we want to put together, a body of collateral that allows people to sell it internally, to their colleagues and to different department heads, people that may not speak to each other. Well, this gives them a reason to actually start to engage each other,
Yeah.
and this is how you can actually do it. To say, this is what it would take to put this together. And really, when we're putting together a lot of this collateral, we're being very diligent to be mindful of what is being heard. We are so, I guess, ingrained, trying to sit there and, be focused on what it is we want to say, because we're the true believers. We're the ones that,
Yeah.
we don't need any convincing.
Yeah.
It's really, but, I see a lot of people, within blockchain, we started talking about consensus and decentralization and, you know, block, nonces and all of this stuff, which we thought was really cool, but it was flying over the heads of, the people that we were trying to really get excited about this. And that was really something that it was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Uh, and we are trying to avoid all of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I for some of my initial shows as well, Mark, I got similar feedback that you were talking about baseline as if we all know about baseline. I said, okay, fine, let me let me break it down a little, and that's important. That's important. That's critical feedback, and people who are watching me, please, do drop in comments like that. We love it. So, and as Mark said, there were times when we were so convinced of what we were creating, but now, we've also matured and we've learned from this kind of feedback which comes in from the community. And I think now hours of work is going into designing these things and designing the messaging which is going out, and there are designated people who can talk about baselining, and
and
narratives
I
are
mean,
being.
I would say, and I would definitely get a plug in. Is the strength of the community.
Yeah.
I commonly will tell others, that Samrat, myself, a lot of the people that have been involved. We stand on the shoulders of giants. It is
Yeah.
that community that really has everything good. We could not do anything without a community, and having a very robust, very well grounded, very people that get along
Yeah.
really well, as we're all have this common goal.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Love that. So I would put. So yeah, Kunal, we have this habit of grandstanding once in a while. So I'll put you back in the spotlight, and we will come back to your background on unified communication. So tell me, what what was your trajectory? I mean, from where do you start your organizations, and maybe if you
Sure.
I'm just trying to bring in that perspective. And in one of my earlier chats as well, I tried to there were three developers from one of the biggest automakers in the world, and uh, I was trying to ask them questions around, how much time did you actually spend in blockchain, just so that people know that it's not something which is not meant to. There are times when people think, oh, this is not for me. So, and the kind of industry that you're talking about is, you're talking about metaverse as well. You touched upon that briefly, and we will delve deeper in that. But uh, tell us a little more about what your trajectory was, and if our viewers can benefit out of that, that will be amazing.
Sure. So I've spent, close to 12 plus years into unified communication now, right? And to start off with, it was more to do with the telecom side of, unified communication. Then I moved to the enterprise side. And then, after getting a good knowledge from the product company, I moved to a system integrator. I spent time while designing the solution, implementing the solutions with various customers, right? After successfully doing that, I got into the business side of it when I was helping the sales folks by being part of pre sales. And then from there, I moved to the incubation side because I understood, what is the requirement that, customers have in market, right? And how we should create better accelerators to achieve that. So that's how I moved towards the incubation. And I personally feel that it is very important to have a good pulse from the market, right? Irrespective of you are developing the product, but getting information about the market, right? That what's happening in the market, what is required by our clients. That is very very important. So that's it with respect to my journey so far.
Very well. I mean, have you seen to where, in, kind of moving between all of these different domains and stuff, you're seeing a lot of commonalities as far as that a lot of people, yeah, really start thinking about the technology and not really as much about the people that are going to use it. I think anybody that's probably gotten, either, an early version or something right out of beta release, and the back end functions flawlessly, but the people that are sitting, at the screen, trying to interact with it, they find it unwieldy and too unintuitive. It's like, did anyone even think about this? I mean, are you seeing a lot of that? And I think we're getting better, but I think that speaks back to what I said earlier, to where leading with the tech is not always the best strategy.
That's so true. That's so true. In fact, when you move to different roles, you do understand, the significance of each and every role and what it brings to the table and how you need to connect the dots. Because, in the end of the day, all the roles are important when you are delivering certain things, certain commitments to the customer. It is
Mhm.
only that you realize that what can be the maximum potential in each role and connect them together.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because and I'm starting to read and also hear that there are a lot of companies that are basically saying, before we even write a single line of code, we are going to do a thorough assessment of the process environment. We want to document and map every work step, because one of the most common things that people run into is the sequencing. If something A has to happen before B has to happen. And I've seen so many different process, diagrams that really kind of have this. It's like, well, why are you having, this downstream work process that contemplates the completion of something upstream from it that hasn't been done yet? And actually, it's mapped further downstream to that. And I'm like, and you wonder why it's going to throw errors, you know? So you're starting to see a lot more saying, we're going to start, documenting all of the workflows before we even write a single line of code. And I'm going, finally.
I think
So,
that's where the experience comes into play.
yes.
Everybody has bags of experience of failed implementations as well. Awesome, awesome. So
One thing I would like to add, Samrat, when you said people have failed, I have a very strong belief that as an engineer or developer, you never fail. Either you succeed or you learn,
how you
right?
learn.
You never fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends on your attrition rate and your knowledge management system process.
Of course,
uh,
I've seen some developer executives that will say, I may be misinformed, but I am never wrong.
awesome. Perfect, perfect. I think Mark is the uncrowned king of proverbs on the baseline show. Hands down. Kunal, when we were having our brief chat before, in the show, you had mentioned an example of Munna Bhai. Uh,
Mm.
and Mark, for your reference and for other people's reference as well, Munna Bhai MBBS was a one of the best comedy movies in India. We all loved it. It was about a guy who was faking it to become a doctor. He was faking it, and then he sort of enters a medical college, and tons of things happen. But it has got some very catchy and memorable dialogues. So Kunal was mentioning about an example from that particular movie. Kunal, why don't you tell us about
Sure.
that particular use
So
case of unified communication?
right, right. So the situation in that movie was that there was a hero of the movie who's supposed to he was trying to learn about MBBS, and he wants to clear the exam, and he was studying that, right? So in that process of doing it, he once saw an incident in the hospital wherein there was a patient who came in emergency ward, and the patient was not being attended by a doctor. Instead of that, they were being asked that, why don't you go ahead and fill the form first? Once you fill the form, then we'll attend your patient. So we were just discussing about, the business workflows in unified communication space. So I was saying that, there is a very close, there's a very close collaboration between blockchain and with respect to unified communication that can happen in future with these business workflows. So while unified communication is, taking care of the communication between the patient, the doctor, the coordinator, there are things like, the bill ledgers that needs to be maintained. So if you put all these three things together and tie a, stitch a use case with respect to the business workflow, right?
Synchronization,
That
I
will
think.
add a lot of value in healthcare industry.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure Mark, you would like to add some things
Oh,
here.
healthcare. I mean, especially in the U.S., is of course governed by a very robust, I would say draconian data privacy framework, HIPAA, and then you also have PHI, personal health information. Um, that has put a lot of demands on the security aspect. Anytime you involve data sharing, um, and because if and where it starts to get kind of difficult is if you have a data set that is going to pass through your orbit and you don't open it, you don't touch it, it just passes through there. You've had no interaction with the data set at all. You are still part of the reporting matrix for that, and the penalties for noncompliance for that are pretty significant. And furthermore, there really is not an appeals process. If you can say, "Wait a minute, we did we do this, and to what nature or whatever, and why are we, what is the justification for a fine of this size?" And so, right now, innovation really has some serious headwinds to fly into when it comes to healthcare, just because of this data sharing. And there's a mindset around it is I can't. I want to do this, but I can't. And when we're approaching this using baseline protocol, is saying you're going to use your existing systems of record, and all of your data is going to stay safely within your system of record. What we are doing is proving a state of synchronization with your counterparties, and there is, quite a bit of interaction, between the provider, you have the patient, and then there's the whole payment mechanism, where you have the health insurance company, which is, it's not truly insurance, it's more of a healthcare payment plan. But at the same time, each episode of care is treated, a certain way. And, you're going to have the patient to say, okay, well, how much do I owe and who do I pay? And the provider is saying, okay, we've done this service for the patient. We want to, we want to be paid for it. And at the same time, the health insurance company wants to make sure, okay, let's make sure that everything is being accounted for by the patient and the provider. The patient may have a copay or an uneroded deductible, within their healthcare plan, and so they need to know. And you want to get to the ultimate financial obligation so that the claim can be paid, settled, and closed, and that's the ultimate goal for that. And it involves an enormous amount of data sharing that in an environment to where people can say, my you know my bill does not match this invoice, and they have to start doing some back and forth until they are finally synced up, and they can say, okay, I need you to change this this field and this field. So they'll go ahead and change it, and it's like, okay, well, now this one and now that one, and are you left a decimal here and all that? But this goes back and forth, and even under ideal conditions, it takes 60 to 90 days to fully pay, settle, and close a claim.
Yeah.
And that can and I go in there and say, we can be Alexandrian and dis, di- distract dispatch this tangle with a quick stroke, you know. And it's just
Yeah.
and you have so many process environments that involve that, to where it's like, I don't want to share my data, but I can't share my data.
Yeah. And then there are upstream and downstream system dependencies as well. Once you get into changing data into post facto, then that is something which is a different ball game altogether, right? I mean, and then good luck convincing your auditors about it.
Well,
So
and then you have the disruption aspect, because you have many organizations and companies whose entire existence is predicated on the system being as broken and as frictioned as it's
yeah.
possible. So if you come in and try and improve it, they're going to have something to say about it. So
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh, they're going to be. I'm hoping that they're listening to us and they watch what Baseline is doing for systems to get synced up, because their inefficiencies, which gave them a lot of business, are not going to exist for a very long time now. So, and by the way, guys, I got two messages that lighting is very poor. Sorry, but next time onward it will be better. Um, uh, I, I
what
still
is
want
there
to do
for?
it. Huh?
Your video is a little bit less pixelated than Canals in mine, but is
Oh,
the audio not doing as well?
no, I think I got that the lighting is not good.
Oh, the lighting. Okay.
But yeah, never mind. People still know who I am, so it's fine. Next time onwards, you're going to get better lighting, better sound. Of course, I'm just setting up things here. You see, my mic is still out there somewhere in the frame. So yeah, coming back to topic. So it's I think today's conversation is really very interesting for me, because now we are seeing it sort of, we're double clicking on this and we're going down to the protocol level, that if Kunal says there are these systems which need to interact and they need to be combined with the communication system. I mean, if there's a video conference, for example, if there's a teleconsultation, and the teleconsultation also requires records to be pulled out, or state to be synchronized between two systems. Um, Patients could be across countries, right? Or patient could be traveling to another country and meeting with an accident there. So multiple scenarios are there, but I think, but what I do feel is that, yeah, we are various steps closer to the kind of stuff we've been discussing in the past today with Kunal coming in today. And thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, Kunal.
My
And
pleasure.
healthcare was something which was very interesting, and we have picked it up a lot of times on our past episodes. So what we'll do is we'll link those episodes also when we post this one on YouTube. Um, so any parting thoughts? I mean, of course, we 35 minutes into it. Any now, so we can sort of start wrapping up the show today. So what do you think, Kunal? Where is baselining heading, and do you also see any other pockets of opportunities in your experience working with other industries as well, where you see data silos or where you see
Mhm.
multi workflows which are waiting to happen or are happening, but too much data is being shared.
See, as far as silos are concerned, I think the telephone expense management is one area wherein you have a complete decentralized setup, right? A customer who has a global presence can have up to 200 providers, right? And those 200 providers segregated among 40 countries. So it becomes difficult to do manual reconciliation. So that's where I would say this is very, very important. Other than that, and along with that, the DID management, right? In
Mhm.
unified communication, DID management is a big pain area. So that's where I see that baseline can add a lot of value.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, that you mentioned DIDs, uh, decentralized identifiers, and this is basically a digital, fingerprint that you will rely upon to prove that you are you, with a counterparty that you may interact with regularly, whether it's every month or something like that. It's kind of funny because I've worked on a couple of use cases that were centered around DIDs. And it was really interesting that the main interest of the people sponsoring the project were they were more interested in taking it away than they were than granting it, because the ability to revoke that credential and have the network become immediately aware that this credential has been revoked, we no longer support it, and if someone has proven their identity, you need to go find that person to say, hey, your credentials, you better explain yourself or you need to leave, you know, that sort of thing. And the process environment that we had on there was premises access, and it was actually a healthcare campus. And it's very common that you would have everyone would carry these credentials. Have they had the proper environment training for sterile environment if they're in the surgical suites and so forth? Have they had their inoculations? Have they had their COVID shot? And these are all done by plastic badges worn on a lanyard around the neck. And what they wanted to do was take this into a mobile solution so they can say, here, I can do this instead of having to, okay, where is all of that? Not only is it kind of unwieldy, but it was a security problem because where did most of these people keep their lanyards? In their car.
Yeah, in
And
the
someone
car, of course, yeah.
yeah, and someone could steal that. And actually, you would have, if you're an industry representative, say a service technician, you may be, visiting, several healthcare campuses. So you're going to have a separate lanyard for each location. And where are you going to keep those? In your van. And so if someone, wanted to compromise it, they could basically go in and walk around completely unfettered. So that's why the revocation aspect was so attractive.
Yeah, yeah. What you just mentioned, Mark, is shown in many Hollywood and Bollywood movies as well. Cards being picked up and misused here and there. Fantastic.
Someone
Today,
throws a lab coat on.
and yeah, uniforms being put on. Yes. So yeah, I'm sorry for the all the filmy conversations today, but yeah, all this is real life, right? I mean, this is happening as we talk. People are being impersonated and identities getting stolen. So of course, it's a must that we bring in all this. I think the important part is, and that also brings me to a fact that we did give a big grant to people developing a DID solution within the baseline protocol. So do visit our grants page. We have fresh funding for this year. 50K is already committed by consensus, thanks to John and his promotion for baseline in general. But and then there are more companies lining up as we go for pooling in money for the grants program. We are also thinking of a hackathon coming soon. Which will also attract more sponsors. People can come in uh, just with bounties for the hackathon challenges. So if you're a company which is looking for a quick fix for baselining, you can also become a sponsor, become a part of the grants program, or you can have in your bounties in the hackathon which is coming up, which is yet to be announced, by the way. And this is not a formal announcement. I'm just telling you because it's in the works. So yeah, with so that was like a shameless plug for something which we are. I mean, I'm really proud of the grants program. Really, it's brought together so many cool people, and now we have a maintainers group of over 50. So I think that is amazing. Most of these guys were connected through to baseline protocol via the hackathon and the grant program, and now you see they've chosen to stay. So that is really amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing that we were able to attract talent and retain that talent to work on an open source initiative. That's something which is truly amazing. So any final thoughts, gentlemen? Let's wrap it up.
Kunal?
See, thank you. Thanks, Samrat, for having me on the show. Right, it was a good experience to know more about baseline, and I would agree to your point that by the end of the show, you did convince me with the point of view that it can add a lot of value with respect to unified communication.
Yeah, perfect. So talk to folks at HCL. Get us in, make introductions. We would like to have maybe intimate conversations. I'm happy to have both me and Mark happy to get on a call. We can get others involved as well. Uh, Baseline is an open source community, so people can just join in by allocating resources from their side or becoming an official sponsor by paying some money, which is also published on the website. So it can be both ways. They can try test waters and then maybe decide to join in a little later.
And
Sure.
certainly, as the community really starts to grow as well, we're also paying attention to partnerships and alliances,
Yeah.
which right now with a lot of these emerging ideas and solution sets, a lot of these are being put out by companies that have really incredible engineering talent and a really well positioned product and stuff, but because they're still maybe an unknown name or an unknown presence,
Yeah.
it's to try and get some adoption, especially in a medium, so even a medium-sized enterprise. You're gonna you That's where the alliances and the partnerships come in so well. I read a story about that there was a solution that was being put forward for an enterprise, and it was going to save them close to $50 million a year
Hmm.
around there, and it was going to really unify a lot of these disparate processes that they had been just really limping along with for a long time. And really, there was no downside to it. But the CTO came in and said, "I'm not going to do this because I cannot take to my leadership, all of this." And they say, "Well, who is providing it?" And I give the name of the provider, and they're like, "Who is that?" Because you need to come in with someone like Accenture or maybe IBM or Microsoft, because no one ever got fired by hiring IBM or Microsoft or and that's really where the alliances and the partnerships really start to come through. But right now, when you have a solution environment, you don't have a single vendor that is going to provide that entire stack. So you need to have that type of alliances, to say, we do these elements of the back end, we do these elements of the
Yeah.
bridge, and someone else, so they all work together that well.
I
So
think Kona is a great example of such a partnership, right?
yes,
Infosys now provide Unibright all coming together in circle as well. So I think it's a beautiful way to bring things to life. That's something which we are seeing. Kona is also seeing the value. Very soon there'll be public announcements as well about the use cases they addressed and the value that they realized. Awesome. So, I would like to end today's show with a call to action for people. So there are two things which are going to follow. One is, of course, we're going to revise the timing of this show. So we need more suggestions on what time we should do this show within the week. Because when we started off at, early on, we got some feedback that Saturdays would be better, but um, over the time, again, now the other side has sort of outweighed the Saturday votes, and they're now saying that this is serious stuff. They want to do it, while they're at work, and they want to do it. They want to join these calls at, as teams, representing their organization. So that is why we're going to be doing it sometime within the week. So I will be floating out some suggestions for public opinion, and of course, we will also be voting. Mark, you and I, all of us, we'll be voting on those times. So one is that I think the second very very important initiative that we are launching is, what's the value realized out of baselining. So that is something which will be published in the form of a report at the end of the initiative. We are, so of course there is a, I'm looking, there are a couple of agencies we are talking to conduct that, that primary secondary research, uh, putting out a research report which can feed into business cases for leaders who decide to baseline. And while that report is being built, we will need all hands on the deck to start contributing to, their ideas, their thoughts to that report. So if any of you would like to contribute, please do write to me, Mark, any of us. We're happy to, get on a call and listen to your ideas and feedback. With that, we come to the end of today's show. Thank you all for making it. People who are watching us and in future will watch us. Thanks, Kunal, so much for taking time for this show. We learned about a new industry today, and I'm sure our fellow baseliners will get value out of today's show. And last but
My
not least,
pleasure.
yeah, thank you so much, Mark, once again for making to today's show, and uh, early in the morning your time. So guys, stay tuned because of the cybersecurity nature of baselining. Next time, we're going to be having a stalwart from the cybersecurity domain, followed by the risk management head from a big bank. And yeah, so the following couple of weeks are going to be very interesting for baseline shows. So do watch out. Thank you all. That's Samrat signing off. Cheers.